Ano na Bev, Best Express Views on PHLV Radio, among other platforms that I'm on. Love, like, share, subscribe na mga kapamilya sa I1TFC, TFC, PHLV YouTube, FB, and my page at Bev Lorente NV at Bev Lorente IG, X, and Thread. Dahil Sabado night with me, ladies and gentlemen, get ready for a legal thrill ride because tonight on Ano na Bev, Best Express Views, we're joined by the esteemed Chief Judge of the Las Vegas Township Court, where justice is fair and impartial, and the cases are as fascinating as the Vegas show. Are you ready to surf the legal glitz and glamour with the Honorable Justice Court Chief Judge Cynthia Dustin Cruz of Department 5? Welcome to Ano na Bev, Judge Cruz!
Thank you so much for having me.
Yes, a little known fact. Judge Cruz's heart was charmed and sentenced by a Filipino man, now affectionately referred to as her other half.
I did not bring him with me today. I'm sorry.
Sayang. It's okay. Kuya Eric, hello. Share. Judge, your list of awards is just incredible. I mean, if we try to go through each one, we might need until 2025 or 2026. So, out of all those accolades, which ones are your absolute favorites?
I would say probably the Bob Gray Community Award that I got. It was an unexpected award that surprised me in the fact that it kind of took light as to what I've been doing with treatment courts and trying to improve our community, and gave that acknowledgement as to how I've been trying to find a way to intersect with the courts and people that are involved with the courts due to substance use disorders, and what we've been trying to do to change some dynamics in people's lives. So I'd say that. And then, of course, the other one that was a big surprise was when I got the Outstanding Women of the Year award for the judiciary. That was also another community award that I was very surprised of being awarded by Philam News.
I am. What about the Project 48 and the whole shebang?
So the Project 48 was, that was a committee that I was on, and it was a collaborative committee that everybody came in and said, hey, when people are arrested, people are in custody, and they're about to transition from our court up to district court, historically, for those people that were in custody, it was taking a week, 10 days. That's
time.
A lot of time. And in some certain circumstances that there was an agreement that they could be released after they entered their plea in district court. Maybe it was that you were going to be sentenced. That means you're even longer. And every day that somebody sits in jail, it does cost taxpayers money. So it also ended up being expensive. So a lot of us got together and said, how can we do business better? How can we do business more efficiently? And what we did was we all worked together to have that change where within 2 business days, 48 hours,
wow,
they were able to appear before the district court to start moving their case along. So there were, millions of dollars that we saved, but that was a collaboration with us, district court, the jail, Metro, the district attorneys, the public defender's office, all of us coming and working together to collaborate.
That's a cost-effective action for everyone, correct?
Yes.
First question. Agad. What inspired you to become actively involved in specialty courts such as the drug court and the DUI treatment court programs?
So when I was a defense attorney, I was starting to see people that were involved in the criminal justice system due to the fact that they got addicted to substances, drugs, alcohol, and it was causing them to be involved in they could have a better life with some help. Now, that doesn't mean that they're not responsible. It just means that they could maybe have a different avenue. So I started getting some of my clients involved with the different drug courts. When I became a judge, at that time, Judge Ann Zimmerman was the presiding judge, and she was talking about stepping back, and she approached me to see if I was going to be interested. And I felt like it was another avenue, another door that I was very knowledgeable, and I had helped cover for
Very
her a couple
nice.
times. So I did that, got in, took the program, moved it to the next step, moved it into being nationally accepted,
Wow.
best practices standards. And then we started saying, we need some funding sources. So we started, I learned how to write grants and wrote grants and started bringing in
That was
close
success.
close to over $2 million in
Wow.
grants, new money to our community to try to help these people. So like I said, you're not escaping by going into the treatment courts, but you are still being held responsible. But we're trying to do something that we know that certain people that are at the misdemeanor level, just incarcerating them isn't going to change a dynamic, especially if they're addicted to drugs or homeless, and trying to get them where that's changed so that they can get back, maybe get back working, get out of the criminal justice system and become a productive member of our community again.
Rehabilitation.
Right.
Yes. So can Judge Cruz share a memorable experience or case from her time presiding over the drug court program that left a lasting impact?
So I had a young man, and he still maintains contact with us. And I remember he came into the court, and he was in custody, and we got him released to go into one of our treatment homes, and he, kind of got a little squirrely. And then he was back living in a tent in a desert lot. And he woke up one day and said, I don't want to keep doing it this way. And he literally packed up his belongings, and I remember he came into court with a rolling suitcase. And he said, I'm tired and I don't want to do this anymore. We got him into a treatment facility that gave him housing, that helped him with his drug addiction, that gave him the skills to get back working. This young man has such a wonderful job now.
Wow.
That he came and talked to our court. He has a car. He has a stable roof over his head. He has a wonderful job. He is now able to travel internationally. He's never done that before.
With a passport, of course.
And even better, he gives back. He comes and he talks to people that are in like circumstances. And he always sits there and points at me and says, this woman saved my life. And I'm like, no, I just opened a door and let you walk through it. And it's stories like that. I can keep talking about many stories about lives that are changed, but that's what it's all about, is to try to see if we can change somebody's life, because he's never going back. Sobriety works for him. He's out of the criminal justice system. He thought he was going to die.
Wow.
He was at that point. We have lots of stories like that. People that are living in ditches, people that are living in tunnels, people that are living in tents, people that are living underneath freeways, and the ability to try to sit there and say, I'm going to open a door. You've got to do the work. I'm going to hold you accountable. You're not going to escape what's been going on with you. You're not going to escape your past, but we're going to try to see if we can go a journey together so that this doesn't have to keep happening to you anymore.
What a beautiful story. Super impactful. Okay, segue. What about in the matter of eviction, a legal mission, versus eviction, a courtroom decision? How do you approach eviction cases with a balance of fairness and compassion to ensure a just resolution for all parties involved?
So evictions are hard because, no one wants to tell somebody that they have to leave where their home is. No one wants to tell people, especially in today's society, that, if we say you can't live there anymore, that you might be now displaced and adding to our growing homeless populace. No one likes that.
Yes.
But my role as a judge is to follow what our laws are. It's not for me to legislate for the bench, but you can still do that by listening and reading what the people have written, taking into accountability what their issues are, balancing fairness with, the other side of the fence that, it's really easy to sit there and say, oh, it's a landlord and so they can afford it. Well, there have been people in front of me and that they might be the landlord, but this is, they have to pay the mortgage. They're not a big property management. And so when no one's paying their rent, they're having to bear the costs on everything. And how do you find that equitable relief? So we collaborated again and we said, there's some avenues of these people that are facing eviction that we think as a community that we can interact with. And right now it's seniors and disabled people. This is our starting populace. We worked with Legal Aid of Southern Nevada.
Yes.
We worked with Clark County Social Services. We worked with the Clark County Board of Commission. And we said, how can there's money out there through federal grants, there's money out there through federal awards, there's money out there through the state. And we know that there's these pots of money out there that can provide temporary rental assistance to people or the ability for people to gracefully move out of a unit that they may not be able to afford anymore, but into another unit that they can. And we said, how can we connect that together? So we relaunched the eviction diversion program.
Wow.
We redesigned it to be more effective. We've had a lot of discussions with a lot of landlords that are very worried about it, saying this is voluntary. We're getting people undone. And I can say right now, in less than 90 days, we've helped over 90 people. We have more people that are moving through the pipeline. And we've been able to provide assistance so that it's temporary, but then we're connecting them with additional resources to either keep them in that unit or find a sustainable unit so that we're not having people unhoused. Landlords are still getting their money. People aren't getting evictions. Then we don't have to make that difficult discussion in court.
Yeah, very well said. When we come back on Ano Na Bev, get ready to hear from Judge Cynthia Dustin Cruz as she dishes out some judicial wisdom on how she dedicates her time to championing the community beyond the courtroom.
Don't be fooled by flashy ads. When it comes to personal injury, choose the Richard Harris Law Firm. Dahil kay Richard Harris, wala kang worries.
The Richard Harris Law Firm, just in case.
I've been seeing the Richard Harris Law Firm billboards everywhere for years. But when I met him personally, I knew totoo siya. He is not just a billboard. Sa Richard Harris Law Firm, less fee, guaranteed.
Sabi ng patients ko, they don't need a colonoscopy because they don't feel anything. But colon cancer is a silent killer. It affects both men and women, mayaman man o mahirap. Have your colon checked.
With an unprecedented track record, Ardent Home Health Care Agency shines.
We work closely and diligently with our clients, their families, and their physicians.
We are committed to providing an involved trusting partnership with our clients.
We provide more than just medical services.
We help our clients restore their optimum level of function and health.
We are responsive and compassionate to the varying needs of our clients.
Ardent Home Health Care Agency, where care meets heart.
Just like a friend from back home.
This is your Filipino radio experience in Las Vegas. PHLV Radio.
PHLV Radio.
Welcome back to Ano Na Bev, Best Express View. Still with us, the Honorable Judge Cynthia Dustin Cruz. How did Judge Cruz navigate the challenges and responsibilities of chairing committees focused on court administration and technology?
So there's a lot of different things to unpack there. And one is, if COVID taught us anything,
yes,
is that, maybe we can utilize technology to help access to justice and allowing people to get to the courthouse, maybe in certain circumstances that they don't necessarily have to come in person. Maybe it's filing, maybe it's certain types of court appearances that they can appear by Zoom or other means, just working through how that could do that. So I've chaired a couple of these committees to try to help improve that. One of the things that I learned when I first took the bench and I went to judicial college, there was a judge from Colorado.
Wow.
And he was sitting next to me, and every break I saw him madly in his computer, and I finally sat there and I said, "What are you working so furiously on?" And he said, well, I'm doing search warrants.
Oh.
And I said, you're doing search warrants? Like, you're in Reno and you're doing search warrants that they need to do in Colorado. And so he talked to me how they were electronically serving search warrants to the judges there. And I said, well, why can't we do that? So being on the plane going back and forth from Las Vegas to Reno for a couple times, you end up with, and it was getting close to a legislative session, you end up with people that are in our legislature on the same flight with you, and they're a captive audience for, a while. And I started talking to them, and I started talking to other judges that I know at various levels, Supreme Court justices, district court justices, and I said, can't we amend this? Can't we do, instead of an officer having to run over with a paper warrant and find me where I'm at with a paper warrant, which, I mean, that's not an effective utilization of time. Or they call us on the phone and they read these warrants to us that are 20, 25 minutes long sometimes, and then they have to pay somebody, which is a taxpayer cost, to type out that report. And why can't we just have a way that we submit them electronically to us? So
yeah, you can sign electronically. 20th century now.
So the law got changed to allow that we can do this, and I have been sitting on the Electronic Search Warrant Development Committee so that we can keep working on how we can get these search warrants more effectively to judges. I got to be honest, it's much easier to read a warrant than listen to it on the phone. But we've improved that, and we're starting to use broader and larger levels of technology.
Yay. High tech na.
So it's things like that. I sit on the statewide Access to Justice Commission. So people that can't afford attorneys, how can they still access the justice system? Because everybody, that's what the court is. They're supposed to be able to have their matter heard in court, right?
Correct.
And
everybody has rights.
And if you can't afford an attorney, or you can't figure out how to access or what to do or how to have the steps, then justice isn't served. So we work on that. There's a whole bunch of us throughout the state that work on ideas of doing that. One of the cool technology things that I just saw recently at the last e-courts, there's actually an e-courts conference.
There's e-file and e-courts.
Yes, is taking websites that are historically only in English and using language databases that exist to convert them into other languages that are commonly spoken in your community.
Wow. So Tagalog will be part of it.
It could be Tagalog. And there's some of them that if they haven't all the way converted it, they have kind of like a live avatar, and that you can either type your question in whatever your natural language is that's not English, they will respond back, or if you can't type, you can speak it. So what was really neat is I was watching as to what they were doing out of New Mexico, and they did it with Navajo. So I mean, some cool things, and using technology to help make it that people can understand what they need to do, or who they need to see, or what form they need to go, or what form they just received.
Very well.
So there's my technology pitch for you.
Yay! And question from a viewer, Mark. What motivated Judge Cruz to champion community partnerships, earning the Bob Gray Community Partner Award, and how does she believe such collaborations contribute to a stronger justice system?
Well, historically, it seems to be like everybody had their little silos that they were operating in. So you had the Las Vegas Justice Court, and we operated within our silo. And District Court operated within their silo. And Metro operated within their silo. And Clark County operated within their silo. And no one seemed to talk to each other. And what we started discovering was,
why is that?
I think everybody just had this mission of trying to help, that they got blinders on. And they stopped realizing that maybe the same person that is involved in the Las Vegas Justice Court might be the same person that you were trying to help on another program. And so I figured we need to start talking to each other.
Yes,
we need to build bridges. We need to come to the table, and we need to have more realistic dialogues. Let's not have a meeting to have a meeting. Let's have productive meetings where we're really starting to think, here's a problem, and how do we take that we can start working on a way to solve this problem. We may not be able to solve the entire problem, but maybe we can improve. Maybe we can take a small piece of that problem and find a solution that utilizes all of us coming together, because that's what we are. We're a community.
Yes.
And when we don't operate as a community, then sometimes we are all doing the same work for the same thing, and we're all expending where we're pulling, like they might want this resource, but we use this resource, and this other group uses the same resource. And so we're all fighting for the same resource.
Redundancy.
And instead, maybe what we can be doing is saying, hey, we all know that there's this resource. What avenue is best to help this particular individual or work on this problem that we know is going to maximize that resource to the best way possible, instead of all of us pulling on the same thing?
Collaboration.
Yes.
And so, in your involvement with the electronic search warrant, we talked about that.
Right.
How does Judge Cruz see technology shaping the future in the judicial process, particularly in collaboration with law enforcement agencies?
So one of the things that we are, I would say our court has been sometimes guilty, but we had to learn how to do better with COVID, was get us out of everything has to be in paper. And because remember COVID, none of us knew. No one wanted to touch anything. And so we got really good at getting where we were a lot more electronic. And we got out of COVID, and then everybody's like, I want to go back to my comfort zone. So maybe we need to start thinking, instead of going back to business as usual and paper, is there a better way, a more efficient way that we can take the lessons that we learned when we had to go electronic, where we couldn't be touching paper, where we couldn't be seeing, and what can we take that was the best out of that and utilize that to work more efficiently and smarter instead of harder? This saves everybody. So, yeah, that doesn't mean that you can't still come to court in person, but do you really need to come to court for a 3-second, I'm confirming my client's out of custody, give me a date? There might be some things that we can do more efficiently and try to find ways that we can use technology to operate more efficiently. So on the things that really do need to be in person, that we have more space to do that, because our court keeps growing. We had 200,000 cases filed and started in Las Vegas Justice Court in 2023. Wow. It's not going down in
How's
number.
the backlogs going on? Because it was always a problem, right, with the court.
So, backlog is always, that really evil word that we don't like to talk about. But you always have these situations where you have growing caseload volumes, you have a static amount of staff, and they're madly trying to update things. You're in court longer. You're just on a vicious cycle of how can anybody get their work done, and trying to figure out, and that's why I'm saying, by utilizing some of these technologies, we can have certain avenues where maybe our staff was having to move paper around, but instead there's an electronic filing thing that they can just move it into the case file more efficiently.
And cost effective too.
It can be, and then we can take our staff to utilize them more effectively
on other things.
Meaning some of the stuff that's the busy work that has been bogging them down, maybe if we find better efficiencies, that stops bogging them down, which means none of that dreaded backlog issue that frustrates, I think, everybody in the legal system.
As a member of the Judicial Council of the State of Nevada Specialty Court Funding and Policy Committee, what initiatives or changes does Judge Cruz foresee in the future of specialty courts in Nevada?
So one of the big things that we are doing with that committee is we worked to say, hey, we have a lot of specialty courts in the state of Nevada, but there's no established state best practices. So we worked on establishing a set of best practices that every specialty court that operates in the state of Nevada, especially that gets funding through the Administrative Office of the Courts, is required to follow. So now we have a consistent guideline for us to be operating off of. We've also started working that we have mentor courts, and then we have people that go and not only just audit, but go and observe to see what's going on with the court? How can we as colleagues give insight that can improve? But what are you doing that's wonderful that we can share with the other courts in the state of Nevada so that we can make things better for everybody?
Legal aid is very active with that in that course, correct?
So legal aid does civil. And so where legal aid cycles in, so our specialty courts are all underneath the criminal umbrella. But Legal Aid of Southern Nevada helps out a lot with some of the issues that we're having in the civil arena with people, like I said, not being able to afford attorneys, the evictions, and all of that. So that's where we start collaborating, underneath that civil umbrella to try to be a little bit more sensitive about some barriers that people are having with being in our court, navigating through our court, or handling their cases. And so no one wants to see a situation where somebody is really having an unjust result that maybe their case could have done. So Legal Aid is great because they have something called the Civil Law Self-Help Center. And the Civil Law Self-Help Center, it's all for civil matters.
It's on the first floor, correct?
It is on the first floor, but they also have a very robust website. So if you can't afford an attorney and you're not sure what document you need to get filed in, or maybe you have a deadline and you need to get it filed and then you maybe work on an attorney later, you can go to this website. It's all free. They have lots of informational documents. They have instructions on what you need to do. They have certain things that it's like an interview that you can do to help you create the documents. It's a wonderful tool that I think is very frequently underutilized, especially for being a free. Civil Law Self-Help Center.org. I'll work on getting you the actual email address and the actual website address that you can maybe post.
Ayan. Thank you so much, Judge Cruz. Say Filipino, mag-Tagalog ka.
Salamat.
Ayan. Thank you so much as we bid farewell to the insightful journey with Judge Cynthia Dustin Cruz. May her gavel of justice continue to strike chords of fairness and compassion in the courtrooms. May her legal endeavors continue to be a beacon of warmth in the courtroom, proving that justice is not just blind, it's heartwarming. Until next time, on Ano na Bev, so ordered. Subscribe na!
Don't be fooled by flashy ads. When it comes to personal injury, choose the Richard Harris Law Firm. Dahil kay Richard Harris, wala kang worries.
The Richard Harris Law Firm, just in case.
I've been seeing the Richard Harris Law Firm billboards everywhere for years. But when I met him personally, I knew totoo siya. He is not just a billboard. Sa Richard Harris Law Firm, less fee, guaranteed.
Sabi ng patients ko, they don't need a colonoscopy because they don't feel anything. But colon cancer is a silent killer. It affects both men and women, mayaman man o mahirap. Have your colon checked.
With an unprecedented track record, Ardent Home Health Care Agency shines.
We work closely and diligently with our clients, their families, and their physicians.
We are committed to providing an involved trusting partnership with our clients.
We provide more than just medical services.
We help our clients restore their optimum level of function and health.
We are responsive and compassionate to the varying needs of our clients.
Ardent Home Health Care Agency, where care meets heart.
Just like a friend from back home.
This is your Filipino radio experience in Las Vegas. PHLV Radio.